Thanks for reminding that. I just started recording. Thank you so much. Yeah, and Sushmita, she is new to Mulesoft. Thank you. Any other volunteers want to introduce yourself? We have a lot of attendees today, like 23, 22, which is really good. Abhishek, he's from India. Thanks for giving your valuable morning time uh, and joining this meetup. I really appreciate it. Hi, Victor. Hey, Santosh. He's from Apicero, India. Appreciate your time, Santosh. Thanks for your interest. Anyone else? Hey, Krishna Patel. All right. Let's continue. So let's start with the MUnit introduction. So MUnit is a MuleSoft unit and integration testing framework. So MUnit is integrated with Anypoint Studio. So that means you don't have to use any other new application or third-party software to write the testing frameworks or testing set test suite for the existing code. You can just use this MUnit. So MUnit is integrated with the Anypoint Studio, allowing you to create, design, and run MUnit test just like you would do for a Mule application, right? And this provides isolation and constrained ability to mock different services, different mules of components. It means that using MUnit, test components can be mocked also that the test cases can be isolated without connecting to external systems, thereby making the test portable. So this is really important to avoid the redundant calls to endpoints and any other issues which comes up because of the lot of testing or regression calls to any backend systems. And provides this MUnit provides test reports and visibility on the code coverage. This is the beautiful one of the beautiful future of MUnit, that when you run test case, it will generate a report that gives the entire visibility on the API, as well as how much testing has been covered, how much code coverage has been done to that API. It gives a good, beautiful, nice report. We'll see that when we, as we go deep into this session. And this is very important. Not only it does saves time, money, but also does the customer satisfaction, which is very important, right? Writing MUnits. Okay. So why we need MUnits? Because it's native to MuleSoft. Create your test by writing your code, testing Mule apps in Mule code. And the beautiful feature is same IDE GUI for dev, debug, test, and test debug. You don't have to have any other new test suite or like any other framework like JUnit or anything. It's all integrated within the MuleSoft and within the Anypoint Studio, and which is easy to learn. Once you are familiar with MuleSoft coding and development, you must be easily taking up the task of building the MUnit, which this also minimizes the manual testing. Once you have these test suites and test written for the MuleSoft, this will, the more test cases you write, the less manual testing you will be doing further after the unit test of MUnit. And if you use Studio, it's the same navigation for the writing the MUnit test cases. If you know Mule, learning MUnit is also easy. MUnit will take care of the basic API test suite auto generation. Developers with little experience can use this GUI, which is MUnit, which is a part of Anypoint Studio. And this also provides operationalization support, which gives the Maven support, which we use to build and deploy. During that phase, we can make sure the application has ran certain unit testing during the build phase successfully, and we can make a check mark, like the application can only deploy after it ran the MUnit successfully, or if it meets all the basic MUnit test cases strategy. So, and also by integrating, we can take it to the next level of using the coverages in Sunfire or inside Studio, and output in JSON is also available for integration. And this also, this can be opened up. This is just a small Immunity is it's just a basic framework, but this can be extensible by using the plugins. So it takes days or weeks to build an API, an application, but to build MUnit, it takes very minimal time and efforts for the developers, and it prefer more other it's preferred over other frameworks, like JUnit. MUnit is preferred than over the other frameworks. And MUnit is XML based, so it's easy to read, write, and code over Java, right? MUnit is mostly important. What we are doing is, because whatever we are doing in this development and testing phases, we are doing is not just meeting the needs of the client, but also very secure, sound, and solid deployments for them. And MUnit does allows us to think in many different ways what we can create testing to make that happen, right? And so with MUnit, you can create your test by writing mule code, which minimalizes your manual testing. Years ago, for earlier versions of Mule, we had to create our own test by using third-party testing ability, which takes lots of efforts and time for the developers. From the recent versions like Mule 3.89 and Mule 4, we got this Immunit Beautiful framework, which is very easy and effective way of testing our Mule code. MUnit also enables operational excellence, as it is integrated with Maven, which makes integration with build systems such as Jenkins very simple, right? So this enablement to our operational excellence. With MUnit, you can perform this following things. You can create your test by writing mule code, as we discussed earlier. You can mock a processor. We'll see as we go deep into the session. So mocking a processor can be done by using mock-when. Mock-when is a connector. So one moment, I'll show you how mock-when looks like. So suppose this is an MUnit. So mock-when looks like this. So in the, you must be familiar of this. Sorry, I'm using the black theme here for the Anypoint Studio, which I like, but maybe it looks new to you. Please excuse me for that. So here in the palette, in the Mule palette, if you type MUnit, you'll see this mock-when. Mock-when. This mock-when is what we were talking about. Mock-when processor. This mock-when processor mocks any backend system calls. And spy is something we use to spy an processor. Just like you spy on your most important people, that's what the spy literally means. It spies on whatever processor connector we connect to. It spies on that, like whatever happens, what output it gives, what it needs before and after the call, like an endpoint. We can spy on an endpoint, or a database connector, or anything. We can spy on that by using the spy component. That will look like here, spy with a little hat and two glasses, spy. So if you see here, there is before call and after call, right? So we can also set payload or attributes before and after. We'll go here when it's time for demo. And then we have a verify process call. This verify processor is something which gives us the visibility on how many times a particular component is called. So if there is any for each loop and we are trying to check inside for each how many times the HTTP request is called or a database connector is called, then we can use this verify. That gives us the count on how many times it's been called. And we can also do enable or ignore the test cases. So we'll see on how we'll enable a test case using a command, Maven command, and how we can also ignore. So there will be some cases where we have to ignore certain test cases during the build phase or during the deployment phase. So we can also do that. There are ways. And also tagging a test. So tag test is something where you can mention the tag for a, one moment. So I'll show you. This is one of the test case. So here, if you see, there is a tag here, tags, right? This, when we mention a tag name, suppose this can be API main test suite. This is a tag name. We can use this tag name and we can perform various operations using this tag name. Like we can use this as part of the build or just run only this tag of this entire test suite. Only run this test case in out of the entire test suite, right? We can use this tag name. We'll see in the demo. And then we can also check visual coverage in the studio. That will be a beautiful report that generates after we run a test case. That we'll see going forward. And then we have generate coverage reports. This is the same as we are talking in the check phase. So these both are hand in hand. So, and we'll see the ways to generate the MUnit. There are two ways to generate MUnit. Um, One is creating blank test for the flow and manually configuring the test case. That is, if you see here in the screenshot, create blank test for this flow. So this is our API, which is being developed, right? Mule flow. And to write a unit for this, it's simple. You just right click on this flow and then go to the MUnit section. There you have two options. So the first option, it gives you just a empty MUnit skeleton, and that gives you freedom on writing what you want. And the second way of creating the MUnit is record test. The option second one here, you see record test for this flow, which has the mock request response configured. So if you do this, this entire API will run just like we make a deployment, and then it asks for the input and it silently notices the entire end-to-end flow of that particular flow. It records every single request, response, attributes, everything what happens in this particular flow, it records. And then at the end of that successful call, we can configure which component here has to be mocked or what you want to exactly achieve in the unit. We can configure everything just by a few clicks. You don't have to really code much if you use the record test for this flow. This is a very, very beautiful advantageous option we can use for the writing units, which takes just minutes. That's what I said you earlier. For developing an API, it might take days or weeks, but to write MUnits, it's very quick. It takes very short time and efforts of a developer. So I'll show you on how to generate the flows. For now, I'll just yeah, I'll just delete this two which I have already generated. So let me give a quick overview of what this API is doing. This is a skeleton template, just a simple API which has a listener All right, and then we have a logger. So request comes in, we logs like start of an API flow, and then we have a request connector here, which does nothing but just print a random generated UUID. This is a simple call, and then we are logging again end of the API flow. This is a simple flow, and with this, I also put the scheduler. So in the scheduler, whenever this runs, I'm just logging a message like I am alive, right? So that's all this API does. And also it has the global XML, which has some of the properties just as a part of the API best practices. I have put them. It has the mule key, mule environment configuration properties, which refers to the properties in here. Hope I'm assuming you're all familiar with this approach. So I'm just explaining on the overall high end view, and also the secure properties config, just to uh, for the encryption and decryption. There's a listener, HTTP listener, which we are using in the API flow, and the TLS contest, which I'm not using. And then, so this is the test. Let me run this uh, to show you. Just give it a minute or so. It will be quick. So it's deployed. So once it's deployed, you know how to test this API, right? You go to the postman. So I have already have this URL, and it's a guest call. So I'm just, and before this, we have a scheduler, right? It runs and prints this log. I am alive here. See, you have seen this. So this happened. So the scheduler ran successfully. Now let's check the request response. So I'm just sending this call here, and it went in, and we got the logs, end of the flow log, starting of the flow log, and also we must have got the response. Hmm. Here is the response. UUID. We are just printing that by making this call. Assume this is a web service call to some paid app. Then there will be apps request whenever you send certain request, you might get charged. So in this case, and especially you are testing, writing MUnit test and locally testing that, you don't want to make this call at all, right? So in this cases, to write the MUnit, before that, let's jump to this ways to generate MUnit. So right now there are no MUnits, so I'm just right clicking here, and then MUnit, create blank test for this flow. As soon as I click this, it will generate this basic skeleton, which has a flow reference referring to the flow which I've just created MUnit for, right? This is one way. So basically here, as I was talking earlier about the call here, right? So this might be an expensive call, or you don't want to make this call basically. So you can mock this up. To mock this up, you go here, and then mock when. So we keep this mock when here. Sorry, wrong one. Yeah, mock one. And as soon as you put this here, you'll get to pick the processor which you want to mock. So it gives you all the list, every single component. So you can choose it. So I want to mock this request, right? And if you double click on this, then you will see the attributes which you use to distinguish uh, that we are mocking this. So I'll just select this doc name and method. Okay, and then they comes in here. As soon as you select, you don't have to write any code here. See, And then after this it's mocking that one. But mocking this, what do you want to achieve? You want to achieve uh, whatever this is giving a response, that you want to mock your whatever. The basic meaning of mock is you're trying to imitate that call, right? So I go down here, and then in the payload, then return. As you see here, what you want to return, you want to return payload attributes error are variables, right? So here I want to return a payload. So this payload must be similar to this, since we are mocking that up. So I'm just putting that payload here, and that will mock that. And we can even put an assert at the end, assert that assert expression at assert equal to. So here I will put the assert that. I'll explain you what this is. So here you put an expression what you want to compare with, and then right now we will be getting a response from the mock. So we will be putting a payload here, then not null value. So once you have this MUnit configured, you can run the MUnit test. As you see, I haven't written any code much, right? It's just a few clicks. You see this green but bar indicates you that the test has been ran successfully, and it also gives you what has been ran, right? This one. And one more biggest feature what I will love about doing MUnits is it gives you satisfaction. Like after you run this test, you can go back to this flow and you see these green check marks. It gives you so much satisfaction that this much part has been tested, right? And the end call was been mocked, and this is not been called. So that is one of the way to run the test here, MUnit test. And I'll show you the other ways. So you got, hope you all understood this, right? If any questions, please feel free to ask in the chat there down. I'll monitor that. I'm right now deleting this. So the next slide will talk on the MUnit best practices. In the MUnit best practices, we have uh, we have to consider MUnit test case from the beginning of like planning and build phase. So we need, one moment, can we do integration and load test to using MUnit? Integration test, yeah. So if basically here you're trying to mock this up, if you don't mock, then you're calling basically other API. So I'm just trying to answer Sushmita question here. So she's asking, can we do integration and load test to using MUnit? So integration test is something you check across the APIs, right? Test. So this is basically we are calling another API here. So if you don't mock this up, you are calling the other API, and it's part of the integration test. Load test, if you load up the data, so basically whenever you write the MUnit test case, you can run that based on certain inputs. So if you load that input with the large data, then that will be part of load test too, right? So that basically covers the application's performance and gives you the number of time and the amount of time it took to give you the response, and also it gives you the performance of this entire flow, how it's doing. So that's all you can test from here. But this API, once it goes to any point platform or on premise, that again depends on the local memory it's been deployed to. So that will be some points to consider, but you can do some part of integration and load test. So let's get back to the MUnit best practices here. So yeah, to so this MUnit has to be considered as a important phase during the building planning or building phase, right? So if a developer has been assigned to develop an API, then you would also consider certain amount of time, like 1 day or 5 hours or 4 hours for completing this MUnit and deliver this entire application with the MUnits as a deliverable. So that's what's a good practice of having doing MUnit we should follow. And then update MUnit regularly along with the changes in the API. So basically, if I have today I'm using so assume today I'm using this call. So tomorrow business comes back to me and says, no, we don't want to use this request. We want to go with something better or cheaper. Then I might change it to that call, right? Then the earlier mocked connector will not work for this because it changed. Or we want to log something, or we want to put a database call, then the entire flow gets disturbed. So if a flow gets disturbed, the same mocking and then replicating this test case for this flow will also need to be updated. So make sure whenever change has been made, make that change also in the MUnit, right? This once the MUnit is being a part of the build and deployment, right? Then when you are trying to build that with the change in the code, then that will automatically throw an error that, hey, certain test case has been failed, please check. This happened to me personally many times, like when I make changes in the code and I don't update the MUnit, then it complains. This is for our better, for our and the business, everybody's betterness. Like we can write the test cases and make sure that no errors or application doesn't fail after the deployment, or there will be no surprises later in the game, right? So that is one of the good thing to do. And also writing the positive and negative testing plays equal role in testing API and increases the test coverage statistics, right? The more the negative unit test cases, the less the issues in the integration testing. So the more you write unit test, the better the application behaves and less the chances of getting back with an issues for that API. And also the test cases should be close to reality and robust with an expectation of production working environment. So this application you might be building and testing on dev and local, but keep in mind always this will go to prod 1 day and it has to perform as per production. So keeping that in mind and writing the MUnit is a good best practice. And also to make testing portable, to make testing portable and constrained, it to the test mule flows, mocking up the backend system connectors and dependencies wherever possible. As we have seen, the request HTTP connector we are trying to mock, right? So in the same way, we need to mock as much as backend system connectors so that we are making the test case, test suite portable, and that will ensure our mule application is performing well and ensures the mule is a code we developed will be tested and works fine, right? And incorporate the testing within the pipeline at various stages in the CI/CD. So as we spoke, if we are putting this MUnits as a part of CI/CD, could be Jenkins or any other build and deploy CI/CD. So that will be a check mark. Whenever application gets deployed, it will check, it will run all the MUnits we write for the application as a standard, and that will reduce a lot of errors and issues coming back for that API later in the game. And ensure you have meaningful assertions in your test flows and use assert message with a readable message. So what this means is, uh, we have seen, right, the assertion. I have put the assert as, I'll see if I can undo the delete. No, I can't. Oh, I did. Okay. Yeah, nice. So assertions should be a little bit meaningful. So here it's readable at least. So we are getting a payload and I'm at comparing it to making sure it's not null value. Or I can put the same message which is coming here, the UUID, just to make sure we are mocking this up and we are getting the same response at the end of this flow. So meaningful assertions should be done. That is one of the best practice. And I see a question here. Krishna Patel. If time permits, can you please elaborate on how to incorporate the MUnit integration and regression test as part of CI/CD? So that I haven't prepared or been planned in the part of this session. Yeah, I'll note it down and we'll try to present that the next time. And that's a really important concept. Thanks for bringing that up, Krishna. So let's get back. Now let's see a demo. Um, in the demo, we'll cover the list of MUnit. So basically here, MUnit comes with basically divided into two sub-modules. One is the MUnit and the MUnit tools. So I'll show you. So if you in the palette, there are two, right? MUnit and MUnit tools. So MUnit is something which has set event, set null payload, after suite, after test, before suite, before test, and test. So these are basically like test is like nothing but putting a skeleton. So every test will have behavior, execution, and validation. You have to pay a little attention here because I'll have the same things asked in the quiz later in this presentation. After the presentation, we'll have a quiz session. So if you answer that, there will be some perks you might get. So here in the MUnit test, you have three what do you call segregations. So the first one is the behavior, which tells which adds which we can add some mock and species here, like you can put the mock or set event or anything. So we are telling MUnit to load this stuff, to load these guys, whoever is present, like mock this. So MUnit will load them up before running the execution. So execution is a place where it refers to the flow. Run flows in here, right? As you see here, it will refer to particular flow. That reference is given here, execution place. And the validation place is where you assert after the test ran, whatever the results comes out of it, then we are trying to validate here, add assertion and verifies here. So this is the three blocks which a test should contain. So as you got an idea on what test should contain, then let's see what we have here before test. So before suite and after suite helps, like in, for example, if you had an object store and if there is a value you like to verify prior to the test or suite, or to clear them before or after test, right, of the suite, then you can use this before suite and after suite, or before test or after test. That will be useful. And in the when we go back, we have MUnit tools. As we spoke, we have two, right? MUnit and MUnit tools. MUnit tools can also be a lot of them, but these are some of the basic standard connectors provided by Mulesoft. So here we have assert equals, assert expression, assert that. So assert, we have three of them: equals, expression, and that, assert that. So these three, where does they go? Here in the validation, right? And then we have the clear object, stored data, and then DQ. If you are using queues in your API, then you can use this DQ. And fail. So fail is something allows you to fail your test on purpose. This is something we want to keep in mind in the testing. Not only we want to test the positives, but also want to see what happens if it fails. Really, more importantly, what happens if it fails. So we need that. And mock when we already seen, queue, remove, retrieve. These are all part of the queues. Queue, if you have queues, then you can use this to play around in the testing. And run custom is something where you can do the custom assertions. Sleep, sleep is something which basically uh, holds the starts the application after certain time interval, after whatever the value you mention in the sleep, then it will give a break during that phase wherever you put this sleep in your flow, right? And then the verify call is verify is help us to check how many times the operation has been called, right? And we have this spy, as we saw, gives you the ability to spy on what happening in that call when you are spying, right? So yeah, so we have seen one way of writing the M units. Now let's see the other way. So basically, I'm trying to delete this again to show you the other way of generating the M units. Back, cancel, don't save, and then delete. Okay, so I'm trying to run. So if I close this out and open this up, and then MUnit record test for this flow. So if you see this, if I click this, then this will basically deploys this application on my local and waits for my input. So if it is a scheduler, it will take it. If it is a listener, it's waiting for the trigger point, and the trigger point here will be my postman call, right? So give it like 30 seconds, it will get deployed on my local. It's ready. So if you notice, waiting for input data, your Mule application is now running and waiting for the flow execution to start. So I go here, I'm triggering this application basically. So I'll click on send. So it's recording. Did you notice that? And then recording stopped. Now I got my response. It basically noted every single step and every single thing happening in this flow. So now we'll click on the configure test. So once I click on this test, it gives the file name it would like to generate. If you want to change that, it's open. And the test name, if you want to change that, you have that option to change. And then I'll click on next here. And then here you see, this shows basically whatever the components I have. Oops, I want to make this little smaller. Okay. So basically, it's trying to show me the list of components I have, the logger, request, and the end logger. So it will give you a detailed list of what all components you have. So here, I don't want to mock, I want to mock this request. I don't want to make this call. So mock, if you click on this, you will have options here. Verify that this processor was called, and then mock this processor, do not perform any test actions, spy this processor, all of these are there. So for now, we will see mock this processor and then click on next and then finish. In the earlier way of writing MUnit, did you notice I had to put the mock component here, and then I had to go inside and then give the processor name which it want to mock, and also I had to give the output payload what that mock processor would return. But here it took everything, right? And also it has this set input. So this set input is something which is my trigger point. So earlier when I deployed the application, I went to Postman and then I call this application, right? So this is my input here. This that does that thing whatever I've done. and then this is the flow reference, and then assert payload is something, as we spoke earlier, I put a payload and then I was checking if it is not null. So this is the other way, it's literally trying to check that the payload matches to this. And there are, this is being built up based on standards, because here if you see direct payload is not given, this is referring to a file. So if I go class path API flow test slash mock payload, so API, and then API flow test mock payload one. So mock payload one is here. So if you go inside, it's basically having that. This is a good way of programming, not hard coding the values there, but referring from a file, right? So this is all done with just in few clicks. And now if I run this MUnit, hope I am not going too fast. If so, please let me know in the chat. So if you see, it got deployed and tested, right? So to verify, you remember, right? You have to go back here and check the green check marks. So this has been tested. So this is how we test, and you want to see how the verify works, right? Verify call. So verify call, I'll try to put here. So I'll mention my request here, right? I want to verify how many times this has been called, and then run this again. Basically, here this will be more helpful if you have a breakpoint. So you can even run this test, as well as you can debug that. So if I debug this, right, so I'll show you how this works. I put a debug point here, and I would also like to put it here at the starting. Now you will notice that how the MUnit flow runs. It will try to first take this behaviors loaded, all the mocks and set input. It will load that up and then comes to the flow reference. See, and it doesn't go above again. So if I click on step over, then it came to my original flow, and you can literally see you are testing every single bit of your code. So when it comes here, it mocks, and then logger came back. Now you see the verify call, it will check, and then it went. So yeah, so we verified that that call has been made. If I don't uh, make this call, right? If I um, okay, let's do this. This is we'll check in the scheduler. So this MUnit is ran, right? And then there is one more button here. This is MUnit errors, and then MUnit coverage. If you don't see this this option, then you can go to Windows, and then show view, and then go to coverage, and then you can select this and open. That will give you this option. See here, this gives the entire flows and the code of my API. So my API basically have scheduler flow, global exception handler, and the API flow, right? So yeah, when I click generate report, so this is a beautiful report I was talking. My first API is completely checked and it's 100%, and the global exception is not, and the scheduler flow it's not. So basically this will show me how much of my application is covered. So let's write another scheduler test case real quick. We are going out of time. So I just right click here, you know the steps, right? Unable to save all scheduler flow. Yeah. So MUnit and then record test for this flow, and it will generate within a minute or two. After this, we'll see on how to ignore a test case via pom.xml, and also yeah, we'll see that the rest of the points we have covered, and then we'll quickly jump to the quiz time. So you see the test has been already ran for the scheduler, and then I am not mocking anything here, just want to write a test case. So finish, this is done. So here I want to try to use verify, but here I'm trying to verify something which is not from the part of this flow. I am trying to verify a request here, which will not be called, right? So this will throw an error. That is our intention. So run this MUnit test. So this is really that easy to generate MUnit. If you are not familiar, hope it makes sense to you and gives you the confidence to run test MUnit and build an MUnit. So if you see here, it gives a error because this has not been passed. Because if you see, the scheduler flow ran successfully, but here there are no check marks because this has been failed, because you basically trying to call the scheduler flow, and this is referring to the request. So you are trying to test this flow and check if this has been called, so it fails. So that's how you test the verify call. So if I remove this, and then now let's test all of the MUnits, okay, to check. So right click here, MUnit, run test. So this will run all the available test cases files in your application. See, both are green, they ran successfully. And if I go to MUnit coverage, generate report, this changed. See, now we have just global exception handler. So this is something um, I have put here on a separate file for exception handling. You can also write test cases for this flow. So I have this already um, developed. Since to save time, I have I have it noted it here. One moment. So so I go to my API flow and then configure, and then the test. paste them up. So I've written all the test cases for the failure scenarios. So now if I run this test case, sorry, run test. I just want to show you how it looks when the entire API code coverage has been achieved, how the report will be. So if you see here, everything has been tested. And if you go back, all the green marks, right? And then if you go to the code coverage, it shows 100% coverage, and the customer's business will be happy seeing this. So that is how you do it. And if you are unable to achieve this, and there will be sometimes conditions like code coverage has to be 80% for sure, no matter what. So, and you might face difficulties in testing global exception handler or something like that, right? There will be always some scenarios. So during that time, you just have to go back to pom.xml, and here in the configuration, ignore flow. So in the ignore flows, you have to mention the flow name which you want to ignore. So basically I want to ignore global exception handler. So I'll just copy this flow name and then mention it in the pom.xml. In the pom.xml, in the plugin, if you mention this, this will be ignored. But the code coverage still remains the same, but during the build and deployment phase, this entire flow will be ignored. That's how you ignore the test case. This is one way. Uh, and the application will consider only the non-mentioned and coded flows for testing. So that's it. I mean, these are all the important aspects that covers the basic MUnit so far. Hope it all made sense to you. If you are ready, then we can jump on to our quiz time. Just give me one moment. All right. Alrighty. Okay. So this is the game time. You guys can just scan this up, QR code available, and it will. Oh, nice. Already one guy is in here. So if you go there, scan the QR code, or you can go to just menti.com and enter the code. It will get you to this screen with different funny characters. Each character represents your profile, and then you can answer them based on, and that entire games goes with those characters. So when you see the screen, just hit one of these buttons. We have three buttons here if you're ready. I see five people. We have 16 here. If you are sleeping, please wake up, participate. Nice. We have half of the crowd here. We still need to have 8 members jump in. 9, 10. Come on. 6 more. This will be fun. I have put very easy questions. So um, the faster you choose, the better you earn. Excellent. We have 11. Still waiting. Anybody want to jump in the last moment? Easy quiz. Awesome. So we'll get started then. Are you guys already excited? Let's do it. So these are all the available players here. We still have time for the rest of the three guys to join if you are interested. Do you all see yourself here? Nice. So answer fast to get more points. So the first question, which framework we use to test Mulesoft flows? Time's up. Excellent. Everybody got it correct. So at least you are paying good attention. Nice. And then let's see who answered fast. Nice. Very close. Very hard competition. Let's go to the second question. Get your fingers ready. Oh, oops. Sorry. Something. Okay. Here goes the second question. Which connector used to mock backend system calls? HTTP request mock when assert equals verify call. Time's up. Nice. Yeah, mock when is the connector which you use to mock, right? And the leaderboard, who is leading? So Dam is leading. Santosh is top in the leaderboard. Great. The third question, you guys ready? MUnit contains which of the following three blocks? Insert, update, delete, load, trigger, compare, behavior, execution, and validation, mock, refer, and assert. Awesome. Everybody answered it correct. Excellent. I have put two correct answers here, and you guys got it. All right. Fourth question. MUnit uses which language on the back end? CSV, Java, Python, XML. And now I have put really easy questions. I want everybody of you to win. So, ah, yeah, it's all XML based. We don't use other frameworks here. Santosh came back again on top to the leaderboard. The last question for today's meetup. This will determine which three will get the vouchers for the certification, training, and exam. Let's see. MUnit is used to test which part of the Mule API, form.xml, log4j.xml, property files, Mule configuration files. Which of these? Oh, configuration files. So every flow, all the flows are present in the Mule configuration files. So we are testing that using MUnit. Good job, guys. So let's see who got this. Lakshmi is the winner for today. And then Santosh and Hana, second and third position. So please, Lakshmi, Santosh, and Hana, give me your email IDs in the chat. We will send you the vouchers for the training or certification.
That was awesome. Thank you so much, Jyoti. It was a very good presentation and a demo, and good job all the winners. And as Jyoti mentioned, please share your email addresses where you want to receive the vouchers.
Thank you, Ram. All right. Hana, I'm still waiting for your email address. Thank you, Santosh. Thank you, everybody, for your valuable time spending with me on learning and taking my views on MUnit. Really appreciate it. Hope to see you all on the next meetup, Mule meetup. Thank you so much.
Okay, we are still missing one email address.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll share the recording. It will be available on the website if you go to Columbus Meetups, and you'll find it there in a couple of days.
Okay, who was number 4?
Number four is Isha. Isha, you can share your email address. Okay, Hana shared me personally. Thank you.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, I didn't notice that. Excellent.
All right, thank you all. And
All right, thank you, Ram. Bye. Thank you,
all right,
everybody.
thank you guys.